Medicine Phosphorus in Glycosuria. The purpose of knowledge shared here is only educational and to increase awareness. Please always consult your family doctor before using any medicine. Self-treatment may always be injurious. ग्लाइकोसूरिया अर्थात पेशाब में शुगर आना, डायबिटीज की बीमारी कभी ठीक नहीं होती ऐसा विश्वास किया जाता है, किंतु यह निराधार तथा भ्रामक है और सत्य नहीं है। यदि आपको ग्लाइकोसूरिया है, पेशाब में शुगर आ रही है, जहां आप पेशाब करते हैं वहां छींटे लग जाते हैं और यहां बताए गए लक्षण आपको हैं, तो आपके लिए फास्फोरस उपयुक्त दवा है। आइए जानें कि ग्लाइकोसूरिया नामक बीमारी में दवा फास्फोरस कब उपयोगी है। When to use phosphorus in glycosuria. Glycosuria with thiasis. Urine profuse, pale, watery or turbid whitish like curdled milk with brick dust sediment and variegated cuticle on surface. Gouty diathesis, cerebral disease, cheesy degeneration of lungs. आइए जानें मेडिसिन फास्फोरस के कुछ अन्य महत्वपूर्ण लक्षण। Necrosis of the lower jaw is accompanied by profound adynomia. In case of the upper jaw is affected, disease pursues generally a chronic and mild course, ending in exfoliation, cicatrization, and cure. If the lower jaw is affected, the necrosis may be either acute or chronic, but is always severe, and the patients usually die of conjunctive fever, a peculiar sallow, bloated complexion with dull expression of eye and gastric derangement, cardialgia, anorexia, irritation of gas smelling of phosphorus, also dizziness, faintness, and cachectic appearance, tearing pains in jaws, swelling and suppuration of the gums, then loosening of the teeth follow and the bone becomes denuded, fatty degeneration of the liver and engorgement of the lungs. At first there is tenderness of the liver, but as it shrinks this passes away. The right lung is more affected than the left. Violent and noisy vomitings, prostrated, cold, pallid as if moribund and unconscious, cold, clammy sweat, general, skin here and there waxy yellow, complexion leaden grey, dark blue rings round eyes, pulse is small, hard, slow, unrhythmic, intermitting, abdomen distended, very sensitive all over, the slightest touch causing violent pains, could not bear the weight of night dress, senses and mind in unconscious apathy, could only be roused by loud calling into her ear, very violent burning pain in the lower chest, stomach and whole abdomen, worse by every touch or change of posture, retching and ineffectual straining at stool, with burning like fire in the large intestine and anus. She passed with difficulty small quantities of dark yellow urine, smelling strongly of garlic, after micturition very severe burning, boring, burning pains in bones, especially of skull, palate, nose, jaws and teeth, worse taking cold or warm things into mouth or chewing, only tepid liquid nutriment could be borne. At times numb pain in teeth, they felt loose as if they would fall out. Apathy alternates with angry words and actions. After menses, burning leucorrhea that made the parts sore. Soft parts of joints swollen, considerable rigidity of joints, the skin put on a yellow tint, bloated swellings appeared in places on eyelids and face, pitting on pressure. On neck, back and other parts of the skin could be raised by fingers in large folds, which slowly smoothed down again. A peculiar exanthema appeared on the skin about the joints, like eczema. Vesicles in groups turned rapidly into scabs and frequently recurred. Nausea and sour taste, milk tasted burnt, every smell, tobacco, wine, beer aggravates the nausea. Loathing of butcher's meat and bad appetite, glowing sensation throughout epigastrium and chest, warming sensation right side of heart and below left clavicle, drying forcing towards pelvis and rectum as if menses coming on, intense sexual excitement in men with erections, emissions, later impotence, walking less strongly, often stumbled on a smooth road, diminished sexual appetite, and feeling as if the penis would not become erect when excitement was present, mental indifference, numbness all over with the sensation of myriads of needles slightly pricking him, throat dry and parched, a flame seemed to pass through him. Feet seemed glued to the floor. With great difficulty he reached the vessel, and as soon as the bowels began to act, the pains changed to cramps. Stools were like scrapings of intestines, almost constant with tenesmus, after which he lay down in bed, weak, sore, almost helpless. Intolerable thirst. Drink did not quench it, but caused cold clammy sweat to exude the moment the water entered the stomach. Later, involuntary passage, periodic, rectum insensible, sphincter paralyzed, slight prolapse after each stool, stools inodorous, save for a slight moldy smell. The types of constitution in which phosphorus has been found particularly suitable are tall, slender persons of sanguine temperament, fair skin, blonde or red hair, quick, lively perceptions and sensitive nature. Young people who grow too rapidly and are inclined to stoop, chlorotic, anemic. Persons of waxy, translucent skin, half anemic, half jaundiced. Tall, slender, narrow-chested, physical patients, delicate, eyelashed, soft hair. Tall, slim, dark-haired persons, especially women, disposed to stoop. Nervous, weak persons who like to be magnetized. Hemorrhagic patients, slight wounds bleed profusely. Phosphorus profoundly affects the nutrition and function of every tissue, notably the hardest, the bone, and the softest, the nerve and blood. It causes irritation, erethism, exaltation of the senses, and later a typhoid state and fatty degeneration. In fevers of typhoid type and in pneumonia, phosphorus has an important place. It is indicated especially when the morbid action becomes localized in the right lung, particularly the lower lobe. Hard dry cough, rusty sputa, worse at twilight and till midnight. Worse lying on left side, better lying on right side. Abdomen distended, sore, very sensitive to touch. Stools offensive, bloody, involuntary. The anus appearing to remain open. The delirium is low, muttering, stupid, or violent. Or there may be a state of ecstasy, or odd ideas that his bones are in fragments and he cannot fit the pieces together. Exaltation of mental faculties and the condition which follows overexertion. Easily angered and becomes vehement, actually gets beside himself with anger and suffers physically in consequence. At other times is anxious and restless, especially in the dark and at twilight. Restlessness, patient cannot sit or stand still a moment. It belongs to the stage of irritation and is succeeded by apathy. Imagines he sees faces grinning at him from the corners of the room. Such conditions are found in cases resulting from losses of fluids, overwork or pain, sexual excesses and abuse, fibrillary twitching of individual bundles of fibers in muscles, numbness and formication in paralyzed limbs indicate it in hemiplegia and paraplegia, spasms on the paralyzed side, burning pains of phosphorus are prominent, burning between the scapulae, burning in spots along the spine, feeling of intense heat running up the back. No other remedy has exactly this symptom. The uncertain gait, neuralgic pain, and fuzzy feeling of the feet give the correspondence with locomotorataxy when the conditions correspond. Epilepsy from masturbation, sciatica, a continual burning pain running along back of left thigh and leg, compelling her to spend most of the day in bed, entire limb so weak that she could hardly walk. Worse lying on left side, better lying on right side or on back. Worse by movement, worse by cold air, better being warmly covered. Worse in evening. Dryness of mouth, lips and throat. Phosphorus has burning thirst for cold water. Cold water relieves, but as soon as it becomes warm in the stomach, it is vomited. Desire for cold foods and preference for cold meat is very characteristic of phosphorus. And the cold food, like the cold drink, may be vomited as soon as it becomes warm inside. Ice cream ameliorates the gastric pains. There is nausea on putting hands into warm water, sneezing and coryza from putting hands in water, regurgitation of ingesta in mouthfuls. During pregnancy, the sight of water causes vomiting. The appetite of phosphorus is remarkable. must eat often or he faints. Hungry soon after a meal, hungry in the night, must eat, craving for salt. Phosphorus remedies the effects of excessive salt eating. The sinking, faint feeling of phosphorus is felt in the whole abdominal cavity, also in head, chest and stomach. The stools of phosphorus are peculiar, whether constipated or diarrheic, long, tough, hard faces like dogs, voided with great difficulty and straining. Diarrhea, as soon as anything enters the rectum, profuse, pouring away as from a hydrant, watery with sago-like particles, with the sensation as if anus stood open involuntary. Diarrhea during cholera time, painless. Morning diarrhea of old people, bloody stool, blood-streaked stool, stool like thready membranes. With the stool there is burning in the anus with tedious pus. There are also pains of all descriptions in the anus, notably stitches shooting up rectum, attacks of violent pain in rectum and anus with distension of abdomen and desire for stool light, lumpy, constipated, after stool complete relief of pain. Sometimes the attack woke him from sleep. Proctalgia coming on at every menstrual period, during urination and also when not urinating, there is burning in the urethra. Burning palms, cannot bear to have the hands covered, flashes of heat beginning in hands and spreading to face, yellow fever, typhus or typhoid, nervous or hectic type fever. In intermittents, when there is heat at night beginning in stomach, faint and hungry in night, heat of hands, there is also chilliness towards evening, icy coldness of hands, knees and feet even in bed. Sweat is anxious, profuse, exhausting on slightest exertion, profuse at night, cold and clammy, smelling of sulphur or of garlic, disorganization of the liver and blood with jaundice, hemorrhages, acute fatty degeneration of the liver, also fatty degeneration of pancreas with gastric symptoms and oily stools, and fatty and amyloid degeneration of the kidneys. Hemorrhagic diathesis, the blood loses its coagulability, very small wounds bleed profusely. Blood-streaked discharges are very characteristic when from lungs, nose, bowels or other orifices. Hemorrhoids, menses are more profuse and longer lasting than usual. There may be vicarious menstruation in the form of hemoptysis, epistaxis or hematuria. Left ovarian pain, leucorrhea which causes blisters. Sexual excitement is great in both sexes, going to the extent of satyriasis and nymphomania. Frequent erections in men and sexual thoughts entirely beyond the patient's control. Erections in spite of efforts to control passion in young men. Impotence from overindulgence or from celibacy. The female breasts are the seat of many burning, shooting, cramping pains, and phosphorus has proved a leading remedy in mammary abscess and fistula. The characteristics are erysipelatous appearance, red streaks starting from opening, thin ichorous discharge, The hemorrhagic action of phosphorus is seen in many forms of pulmonary hemorrhage and congestion, blood streaked or rusty sputa, tasting salty, phlegm tinged with blood whenever they take cold. Thysis florida. It has also a stomach or liver cough. Cough comes on after eating and starts from a tickling in pit of stomach. Cough worse when strangers enter the room. Cough worse when strong odors part of the general sensitiveness of the drug. Cough causes tearing pain under sternum as if something was being torn loose. Suffocative pains in upper part of chest with constriction of larynx and engorgement of lungs, mucus rales, panting and labored breathing, even emphysema after the cough and asthmatic attack. Sharp pain with soreness in the third intercostal space, 3 inches to the left of sternum, limiting inspirations. Dyspnea on exercise, dry cough during the day till 10 p.m., thick yellow sweetish sputa from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., cough worse lying on left side, worse when talking, worse when eating and just after eating, worse on going into cold air, worse by change of weather. Cough better in fairly warm room, better lying on right side, prefers cold food. Whilst walking rapidly against the west wind, felt a pain under the middle of the sternum with sensitivity of the part to pressure. With the pain, a sensation as though gas would rise from epigastrium. Congestion of the brain on the sudden death of his wife, followed by bronchitis. A rather long walk brought on a severe attack of angina pectoris. Patient at times put his hands to the back of his neck. Headache and other sufferings from grief. Heart vertex after grief. Shocks in occiput after grief. Coldness in cerebellum after grief. Congestion of brain, seeming to rise from spine into head. Splitting headache caused by cough, neuralgic pains and impending paralysis. The attacks are induced by mental exertion, induced by worry, induced by washing clothes, and are worse by music, worse by noises, worse by strong odors. Washerwoman's headache. Whenever she washes clothes or walks fast, she has rush of blood to head, red face and eyes, heat on head, scalp sensitive to touch, sudden shooting pains, especially in vertex. Headaches always appeared in the morning after washing, violent shooting pains left side of vertex, better wrapping head in flannel. Phosphorus affects all parts of the eye, retina, choroid, vitreous and crystalline lenses, cornea and conjunctiva. It has arrested cataract and glaucoma and cured retinitis albuminuria from suppressed menses. Colors appear black before the eyes, always sees green hollow round candles, letters appear red whilst reading, as if a grey veil over everything. Blindness after typhoid, sexual excess, loss of fluids, lightning, twitching of lids, pustule on cornea, burning pains, waxy skin, either clear and pale or yellow, enlargement of the liver, rheumatism, waxy pallor, exanthema with pustules like smallpox, ulcers, psoriasis, lichen, eczema, blood boils, purpura. Purpura disease begins with loss of appetite and pains in the stomach, but as soon as the purpura spots appeared, the pains ceased and the appetite returned. Ulcers of phosphorus bleed easily at the slightest touch. Large ulcers surrounded by smaller ones. Ulcers affecting the nails. Inflammation and eruptions about joints. Fistulae with callous edges from glands. The joints most affected by phosphorus are the hip and knee. The left side of the lower jaw is more affected than the right. Caries and exhastosis of spine and other parts. Rheumatism. Great stiffness of the joints, more stiffness than pain. A drying, tearing, tight feeling in parts. Stiffness of old people. Paralytic rheumatism from exposure to rain. The tight sensation appears in the girdle pain of spinal affections, tightness of skin of face and forehead, also stiffness in brain, in eyes. Allied to the rheumatic symptoms of phosphorus is its sensitiveness to effects of storms, especially thunderstorms. Headache always coming on when thunderstorms are about. Blindness from lightning stroke. The headaches from inhaling the steam of a wasp, tall, thin, dark, of mild and gentle disposition. During a thunderstorm, trembling and cold, and bathed in cold, clammy sweat, full of nervous dread, and almost beside herself. Septic conditions, perforating appendicitis, collapse, pulse 130, mind wandering, urine and feces passed without restraint. The patient was rapidly sinking. Arsenic gave no help. The doctor sent word to the students who were nursing the patient that they might try a heart saline enema. On attempting to give it, the rectum was found to be open, no resistance being offered by the sphincter. Grayish-white fecal discharges, watery and offensive, passed constantly. The students, recognizing the indication for phosphorus, gave a dose of that remedy, and instead of dying, the girl got well. Peculiar sensations are sensation as if about to die, sensation as if immersed in hot water, anxiety as if below left breast, sensation as if he had been lying at night with head too low, sensation as if everything had stopped in head, sensation as if chair were rising, sensation as if eyes would be pressed out or pressed down by weight about them, sensation as if painful knots under scalp, sensation as if pulled by hair, sensation as if head would burst, sensation as if something exploded in head, sensation as if skin of face too tight, sensation as if something were pulled tight over ears, sensation as if dust in right eye, sand in left eye, eyeballs large, sensation as if something lay before ears, foreign body in ears, sensation as if nose stuck together, sensation as if nails driven into jaws, sensation as if food did not digest properly, sensation as if heavy weight in stomach, stomach as if freezing, sensation as if something cooking in stomach, anus as if open, larynx as if lined with fur, sensation as if skin on larynx, sensation as if a piece of skin hanging loose in larynx, sensation as if something in middle of sternum torn loose, sensation as if heart had grown fast, sensation as if chest eviscerated, sensation as if a narrow band encircled body and lay upon heart, sensation as if great weight lying on middle of sternum, back as if broken, sensation as if quicksilver moved up and down spinal cord, coccyx as if ulcerated, soles as if he had walked too much, feet as if asleep, ankles as if sprained. Suddenness is a feature of phosphorus. Sudden prostration, such as may occur in diphtheria, measles, scarlatina, or any disease in which the system has sustained a profound shock. The left side is somewhat more affected than the right, the venous more than the arterial system. The symptoms of phosphorus are worse from touch, cannot be a touch of night dress, worse from pressure, but pressure ameliorates feeling as if something before ears and pains in chest. Rubbing ameliorates, mesmerism ameliorates, rest aggravates pain in arms and shoulders. Lying down causes intense pains in eyes. Lying down aggravates colic and tearing in jaws. Lying down ameliorates heat of scalp and incarcerated flatus. Weakness after stool and after urinating, compelling lying down. Lying on back aggravates diarrhea and asthma. Lying on back ameliorates pneumonia and pain in arm. Lying on left side aggravates. Lying on right side ameliorates. Sitting aggravates. Motion, exertion, walking, especially fast walking, aggravates. Exertion, physical or mental, aggravates. Laughing aggravates cough. Coughing causes headache. Talking aggravates pain in larynx. Aggravation from spraining palms. Worse lifting arms. Worse before sleep, better after. Some symptoms are worse on waking, but this is less characteristic. Worse morning, worse evening, especially twilight, worse before midnight. Heat aggravates boring in teeth. Heat aggravates back pains. Heat aggravates itching spots of skin. Warm food and drink aggravate, but hot drinks ameliorate. Flatulent colic. Warm water putting hands in causes toothache. Warm wraps ameliorate neuralgia of head and heat of scalp. Weather changes either way aggravate. Open air aggravates pain in forehead. Open air aggravates hemicrania. Open air aggravates stuffed feeling in nose. Open air aggravates vertigo. Open air aggravates toothache, cough, tearing in labia, and taking cold easily. Wind aggravates. Thunderstorm aggravates. Washing with cold water ameliorates. Washing clothes aggravates. Wet weather aggravates. Aggravation from light, noise, music, piano playing, better in the dark. Thank you.